everyone, welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. This will be the final edition of NoDQ video until the WWE Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com this weekend for NXT TakeOver Philadelphia coverage, as well as coverage of the 2018 Royal Rumble pay-per-view. With that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from LL Mr. Cool J. What's up, bro? What was Undertaker's meaning behind his words? He must have forgotten about Reigns and Lesnar. Any hidden code for being in the Rumble? I think the message was he's not done, but he might be done. I think WWE wanted to have The Undertaker on Raw 25 to boost the ratings, but at the same time did not want to commit to anything with Undertaker one way or another. So he went out there and he talked without really saying anything. And it's supposed to be open-ended. Maybe he's done, maybe he's not. But I think the idea is that we will see him wrestle again. And am I a big fan of it? Not really, but if WWE can get one more match out of The Undertaker, I think they are going to do it. Now, will there be more than one match? Will The Undertaker be a surprise in the Royal Rumble? I would not rule it out. I don't really have a big issue with him being in the Royal Rumble if he's going to be at WrestleMania anyways, which if he's going to be in the Rumble, he's going to be at WrestleMania. I could see him possibly being a surprise entrant. I don't see him winning the Royal Rumble, since my guess is he'll be facing John Cena in a one-on-one match at WrestleMania, which doesn't need a championship. I still think he could be in the Royal Rumble and possibly set up an angle with John Cena for WrestleMania. I could see that as a possibility. Or he might not be in the Royal Rumble. I could see it going either way at this point. This one comes from Kayfabe Candy Ass. Even if Dolph Ziggler wins the Royal Rumble, do you think the WWE will push him seriously, or will it be like his Money in the Bank cash-in just for a pop? If so, why now? Why not the 10 or so times they could have done it in this past decade? And I did have to censor Mr. Candy Butt because this is YouTube and they don't like the profanity. Although, I feel like with YouTube's system that detects videos that are not suitable for advertisers, I have a feeling they have no idea what they're doing and it's just totally random. So I'll say it, fucking. There we go. Let's see if this video gets in trouble with YouTube or not. Time will tell. But anyways, to answer Mr. Kayfabe Candy Ass's question, I think that Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles would have a great match at WrestleMania. Maybe one of the writers pitched this idea to Vince McMahon. And Vince figured, hey, we're already doing Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar and John Cena versus The Undertaker, so the rest of the card, whatever, go ahead. Give the fans AJ Styles versus Dolph Ziggler. That is quite possibly what happened backstage behind the scenes in WWE. I'm just speculating on this. We'll see what happens. I'm not getting my hopes up that Dolph Ziggler would win, but I think it would be a nice gesture by WWE because Ziggler has been a guy that has been underappreciated in the company. I feel like Dolph Ziggler has definitely given the company some memorable moments and probably deserves better. He should have had a proper world title reign. That Money in the Bank cash-in, the pop he got, that should have been a solid 6-month to a year reign for Dolph Ziggler. Instead, it only lasted a couple of months. I think that Ziggler and AJ would have a great match at WrestleMania. So if Ziggler does win the Royal Rumble, I think it will lead to that WrestleMania match. And I don't know if he'll win the title. It might just be a WrestleMania match, and then that's the end of Ziggler's push. Would not shock me, but I think for Ziggler, it would be better than nothing. And being in the WWE title match at WrestleMania, even if it's not going to be the main event, it would be cool for him to have that moment. And it would be nice if WWE actually gave AJ and Ziggler the chance to have the best match possible and steal the show at WrestleMania. If those two were allowed to go out there and they had no limitations, I think they could put on one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. I definitely feel both of them are capable of doing that. This one comes from Freddie PhD. Do you think Samoa Joe and the Revival could be in danger of being perceived as injury-prone by Vince McMahon and other WWE executives? Absolutely. That is definitely a downside to getting hurt more than once, because the company might feel that they cannot invest in you if you keep getting hurt. And it's understandable. It's understandable from WWE's perspective. They're pumping money into a superstar, and if that talent keeps getting hurt, then WWE is essentially throwing money down the drain. It is what it is. I hope that Samoa Joe can stay healthy when he comes back, and I hope the Revival can actually get a legitimate shot in WWE. It feels like the Revival as a tag team, they haven't even gotten a real opportunity to succeed because they've both gotten injured, and that really stalled their momentum. With Samoa Joe, his momentum has been stalled, but at least he got a few big moments, so he's been able to show Vince and the executives what he can do. He had a hot storyline and a hot match with Brock Lesnar, and I think that that definitely helped him, and I think Joe will be given more opportunities. The Revival at this point, it feels like unless they're given an opportunity, they're going to quickly become the Ascension 2.0. And as we already saw on Raw, not only were they destroyed by DX, which I think we all expected, they lost clean to Anderson and Gallows. So it's not looking good for those guys, and they haven't really been given the chance to really impress the head honchos in WWE on the main roster. And that's just really unfortunate for them. This one comes from Future Shocker. If the Royal Rumble match goes on last, can you see Braun Strowman losing his earlier match with Kane and Brock Lesnar and then entering himself into the Royal Rumble match and winning? Or do you think Triple H and Braun is a lock for WrestleMania? Well, apparently Braun Strowman is rumored to be facing The Miz at WrestleMania. I don't think we will see Braun Strowman enter the Royal Rumble match. I think the problem with having him lose, and if he does lose, which I'm expecting him to lose the triple threat, I'm not expecting him to take the fall. I think the problem with having him in the Royal Rumble is unless he wins, it's going to make him look even weaker. You know, losing twice in one night, losing the WWE Universal title match, and then losing the Royal Rumble would not do Strowman any favors. So I don't think that's going to happen. If Strowman was in the Royal Rumble, he would need to win. And I don't think WWE's going against their plans for WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. I just don't believe it's going to happen. So I think it's best to keep Strowman out of the Rumble match completely and just have Lesnar beat Kane with the F5, whatever. And then WWE's going to do what they're going to do with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And I think it's unlikely we see WWE go in a different direction. Got this one here from Joe Stewart. Am I the only one who sees potential in the whole Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss mixed tag team based on some of the things we've seen at house shows? I haven't seen what they've done at house shows, but I think that the mixed match challenge doesn't really have a lot of potential in general. The second week, the numbers really dropped a lot for the Mixed Match Challenge, and I just feel like there's too much WWE television. People ask me, why are you so down on the Mixed Match Challenge? The biggest problem, nothing against the concept of doing mixed tag team matches. I'm fine with it every now and then. I think the problem with it is that there's too much WWE programming. You already have 3 hours of Raw, then you have 2 hours of SmackDown Live, and then you have NXT, and then you have the pay-per-views. And for sane people out there, I think it's enough. With all due respect to people that do nothing but watch WWE and other wrestling promotions, at some point you gotta say enough's enough. You gotta do other things with your time. You got work, you got friends, you got other TV shows you would like to watch, maybe even read or do other activities, other hobbies. There's only so much wrestling that a healthy person should be consuming. And I think the Mixed Match Challenge is not really necessary to watch. It's not a requirement. And as entertaining as they might be as a duo, I don't see it being a long time thing, even if they did have chemistry together. Braun Strowman is best off on his own as a monster, and I don't think he should be part of a tag team, whether it's with a man or a woman. I think Braun Strowman's best off, and you utilize him the best by having him be a monster that just goes out there on his own and destroys people. Keep it simple. This one comes from Converse Craig. With Enzo fired and Big Cass on the shelf, do you think it is necessary and a good idea for Big Cass to be repackaged to distance himself from that tag team? Well, he already was being distanced from Enzo in a sense that he was given new music. The problem for Big Cass, as I've talked about in other videos, is that he's not really that strong on the mic, and that's going to hurt him. You know, there was talk about having Big Cass and Enzo be reunited as a tag team, maybe not even as a tag team, but as Enzo being the mouthpiece for Big Cass. So what do you do with Big Cass? I feel like, yeah, repackaging him might be a good idea, change his look a little bit, give him a slightly different gimmick. That could definitely help him so people don't see him and think of Enzo. It might be a good idea, just like with Harper and Rowan, changing them up. Maybe that's for the best with Big Cass, to change up his look and maybe even give him a new mouthpiece, somebody different, somebody you might not expect. Not necessarily Paul Heyman, but just somebody that could talk for him and really put over Cass as a legitimate monster. This one comes from Gareth Smith. How will WWE crown a new Cruiserweight champion? Will there be a tournament or could they do an Elimination Chamber match? Your thoughts? I don't think WWE is going to give the Cruiserweights an Elimination Chamber match. As far as what WWE should do, I did address this on a recent video. It was either one of the NoDQ live videos or a panel video. I think it would be cool to do something like a fatal four-way match. A tournament, I feel like it's been done too much lately. We've seen too many tournaments. We already got the Mixed Match Challenge, which is a tournament. I think WWE should just do a multi-person match, maybe even a six-person match. I remember a couple months back, 205 Live had a really good multi-person match. I would like to see the top contenders from 205 Live and then mix in some people we haven't seen on 205 Live. Maybe somebody like Ricochet, maybe an NXT superstar like Eric Young, maybe Pete Dunne from the UK division, maybe a few other people, and just do one big... You don't even have to do an Elimination Chamber match. Maybe even do a ladder match with 8 guys. You could do as many as 8 guys. Just do a big multi-person match to crown a new NXT champion and get some new blood in there and shake things up in NXT. Maybe even a few surprises that we're not expecting. Maybe bring back Rey Mysterio or somebody like that from the past as a big surprise to get people talking, generate some buzz for NXT, or excuse me, 205 Live. Pretty much the same thing, really. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. As Money in the Bank holder, why is Carmela in the Royal Rumble? Has the briefcase lost prestige recently with the lack of memorable cash-ins? I feel like the briefcase has lost some prestige. I will agree with you on that. The reason she's in the Royal Rumble, logically, she gets an extra shot if she wins. She can potentially go to WrestleMania, keep the briefcase, and if she loses at WrestleMania, she could cash in. And Big Vito mentioned this on the NoDQ review. That might be an interesting storyline to have Carmela challenge for the championship, lose, and then immediately cash in and win the title. Could be an interesting storyline if WWE chose to do that. But yeah, from a logical standpoint, I see no problem with Carmela being in the Rumble match. Gives her an opportunity without having to use her briefcase. The briefcase is just like insurance. You know, she could use that if she lost a title match. This one comes from It's the Costanza. Now that the 2-venue Raw 25 was kind of a fail, do you think the 2-venue WrestleMania is out of the question? I feel like now that this Raw 25 event did not go over as much as WWE was expecting, I do feel like that will pretty much be the death blow to try and WrestleMania 2 over again. I look back at WrestleMania 2 and I thought it was a cool concept having WrestleMania from different cities. And even recently, I thought the idea of doing WrestleMania in 2 venues, one for Raw and one for SmackDown, and going back and forth, I thought it would be a cool idea. And honestly, I still think it could work, but you need to give the live audience their own matches. I feel like you should have WrestleMania, Raw and SmackDown in 2 different cities, but Raw gets an entire card of their own matches, and they can always check out the SmackDown matches at home after the event, and vice versa. Give the Raw fans an entire card, give the SmackDown fans an entire card, and then just for WrestleMania, the pay-per-view, you air the best matches from each show. And then the remaining matches, which would be dark, you could release those on DVDs or even do a DVD set of all the matches combined for one release and make some money off of that. I think that that would actually be a really creative idea. But the idea of having people having to sit in the arena for half the show watching the other show on a screen, clearly that's not going to work. So in that sense, it would be a bad idea. But maybe my idea could potentially work. What do you guys think? This one comes from Colin Andrew. With it being a year since the UK Championship Tournament, do you see WWE finally getting the UK division off the ground or utilizing the talent and title more in 2018? Unfortunately, I feel like the UK division has cooled off significantly. Pete Dunne has been doing some indie shows and occasional WWE appearances. But beyond that, I feel like the ball has been dropped on him. And I feel like, as I mentioned earlier, maybe it's time to unify the 205 Live and UK brands, get Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate part of 205 Live, maybe merge the titles. Maybe that's something WWE could do to bring back prestige to the Cruiserweight title. Just merge the Cruiserweight and UK title. Maybe have that multi-man match for the Cruiserweight title and then have Pete Dunne challenge the Cruiserweight champion, unification match at WrestleMania, and you get that title hot again. That's just one idea at least. I mean, again, what do you guys think? Got this one here from Mike. Do you think Seth Rollins can benefit going to SmackDown Live during the next draft? I like Rollins, but feel he's stale on Raw, and I think it would help him on SmackDown. I agree on that. I feel like for this year's Superstar Shakeup, it would be a good idea to draft Seth Rollins. We haven't really seen Seth Rollins on SmackDown. Actually, we haven't at all, except for the shows building up to like Survivor Series. We haven't seen Seth Rollins on SmackDown. I think he's definitely at the top of the list of guys that could benefit from jumping to SmackDown after this WrestleMania period when WWE does the Superstar Shakeup. We already had the Shield reunion, so I think now would be a good time to split up the Shield members and have Rollins be the guy to go over to SmackDown Live. And you know Reigns isn't, so I think Rollins would be the next best choice. Got this one here from Kyle Allen. What are your thoughts on Alberto Del Rio blaming Paige for all those rants that he did against WWE? I think he did because he saw Lashley and others getting cut from TNA who had big contracts and his window is closing. Lashley didn't get cut. Lashley asked for his release from TNA and got it. Or should I say Impact Wrestling, whatever. Feeling that he can get more money in other companies. It wasn't a matter of TNA getting rid of him. it was a matter of him feeling like he could make more money, and the time was now to make the move. As far as Alberto El Patron goes, it could be a similar situation where Alberto feels like in the end he's better off being in WWE and he could make more money there. Unfortunately, I feel like he may have burned a bridge with the company. It's just funny, you know, he talked so much smack about WWE and Triple H, and now he wants back in. I think he made a big mistake, and I think he realized that he shouldn't have said those things, whether he was drunk or not. I mean, it's just not wise. You don't want to burn those bridges because you never know. You never know. The opportunities might dry up. TNA their business might continue to go downhill and not be able to pay the big dollars. And other opportunities might dry up as well. So I feel like Del Rio made a mistake, and it was a bad business decision to say what he said about WWE. And he's paying for it now because I don't know if they're interested in bringing him back. If it was me, I don't think I would bring him back personally. This one comes from Israeli Wrestling Fan. What is the difference between The Miz of 2011 and that of today in terms of his character? If he won the World Championship now, would it have worked better? I feel like The Miz has evolved as a character. His promos have gotten better. His in-ring work has gotten better. He's just been improving every single year as a performer. He constantly gets better. He has fine-tuned his character. He's matured as a character. He's blossomed. And I feel like if we had The Miz of now, back in 2011, maybe WWE would have taken him more seriously and he would have had a longer reign. Then again, it was all about The Rock and Cena, and I don't know if it was The Miz or if it would have really even mattered. It could have been any guy in that spot, and they would have taken a back seat to The Rock and John Cena. Even CM Punk took a back seat to The Rock and John Cena, with the WWE title basically being in the mid-card at WrestleMania, and then the next year CM Punk being taken out of the WWE title picture. And granted, he did get the match with The Undertaker, but some would argue that Punk should have been in the WWE title match that year. This one comes from Life of Beto. Hey Aaron, from all the WWE live events that you have attended, what are your top 3 moments from those shows? First time asker. Great question. Top 3 moments off the top of my head. WrestleMania 31, of course. Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank was an incredible moment to watch. Also from that WrestleMania, really my top 3 might come from that pay-per-view. If we're talking about strictly moments and not matches, moments-wise, Randy Orton hitting that RKO on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. Shelton Benjamin running up the ladder at WrestleMania 21 was a great moment. That is one of my all-time favorites. Steve Austin returning off air in 2003, right before the No Way Out pay-per-view at Staples Center. That was an incredible moment. Those would have to be the top 3 or 4 off the top of my head. And also from 31, the whole Ronda Rousey thing with The Rock and Stephanie and Triple H. That was another very memorable moment as well. Got this one here from Bobby Lewis. Longtime watcher, first time asking. In 2007, 12 wrestlers were linked to a steroid distributor and they were all immediately suspended. How is the Roman Reigns case different? Do you follow the wellness policy, or is it all depending on who? It doesn't depend on the person. Nobody is exempt from the wellness policy, and that includes Roman Reigns, believe it or not. I believe with the 2007 scandal, these wrestlers were actually linked directly through a paper trail. There was actual evidence that they were buying steroids. With Roman Reigns, it's this one guy that's in jail that mentioned Roman Reigns by name, but at this point, there's no physical evidence that Roman Reigns bought steroids. There's no paper trail. And with the police not investigating it and no paper trail, WWE doesn't have to do anything. There's no evidence. There's no police investigation. So there's no reason for them to suspend him because of what one guy is saying. I mean, anybody could say anything about somebody. You actually need the proof to back it up. So, you know, WWE's not going to do anything unless there's actual proof that he was buying steroids. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. Thank you all for watching. Again, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the Royal Rumble. I will be doing live coverage this weekend, NoDQ Live. More great content coming up. Stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next time.